Time is the one commodity in a dealership you can't get back. That's the
Yeah.
thing that is most precious to you. If you can manage your time and you can be profitable with your time, everything else comes from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
You're
and,
right.
and again,
Time is our inventory, where every other department has
yeah,
physical
exactly,
things.
exactly.
Ours is just fleeting at all moments. Today on the show, we have Martin Rich, who is the service manager of Hattiesburg Cycles. And we're talking with him about service inventory and time, how to manage that more effectively. So Martin shares how he scaled the service department by kind of obsessing over life cycle time, about WIP control, work in progress, and his 24-hour diagnostic guarantee, which you definitely have to listen in on for that one. We talk about the systems behind all the growth that he has had, like an apprenticeship program that brought his technician count from 4 up to 10. He uses a kind of a BDC style follow-up. That's increased his customer count 30%. Now, we're talking about a tremendous amount of support staff for the advisors. Now, that has really created a lot more customer engagement, a better customer experience, and he's seeing it kind of reflected all across the entire store. So if you care about retention and technician productivity and building some real fixed ops with intention, this is a phenomenal episode for you. So like and subscribe, please share this. This really helps the Dealer Lab continue to grow, keep the conversations going, keep trying different experiments and getting people on the show like this. So if you have any suggestions on guests or subjects or experiments we should run in the lab, please email dealerlab@onex.io. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Martin, the service manager of Hattiesburg Cycles. You know, I don't know if I ever told you this, but you were the first guy that I ever realized that Hattiesburg has such a unique accent.
Oh, yes, yes. Well, contrary to public opinion, I'm not Australian.
You're just straight, that is full Hattiesburg, Mississippi accent.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely
And
incredible.
apparently I'm, let's see, Australian, South African, Brazilian.
People think
Someone
Brazil?
someone actually once asked if I was Korean. I think that's probably the strangest one I've had.
Oh my God, that's
To see the
incredible.
resemblance.
Yes, yeah. Well, wait,
That is a
I'm not going to
Korean
do
answer.
the impression on air. That's
Well, we're video, so if anybody needs to just double check what Martin looks like,
He looks
he looks
exactly
like,
like a Korean man.
yeah. There's a
yes.
little version of you in the background. I just saw poke its
I,
head around
I
too.
know.
Is there a little child behind you, or do you just
There is Martin Jr. hiding somewhere.
Martin Jr.? What's up,
Hey.
dude? Oh my gosh.
Get out.
You look so excited. Okay, so Martin, where are you really from? Where's original home?
Born and raised in Northern England.
Nice.
Went to school over there. Somehow ended up at LSU by a series of very, very strange coincidences and quirks of fate.
What'd you study at LSU?
Political science, of all things. You know, there's nothing like an Englishman studying political science in Mississippi, which has a
Louisiana.
very, very interesting history. Let's just say, call it interesting. And I, had run a lot in England, run a few road races over there, and they were like, "Man, this Australian is fast. We need to." And as a result of that, I ended up on the cross country team, went back, did my masters, was bewitched by a girl over there, and the rest is history.
And
So
there's Martin Jr. in the background hanging out. Yep, that's what happens. That's great. Sweet. Yeah. What was it about Hattiesburg? How'd you end up, let's just say Hattiesburg as the city and then kind of Hattiesburg Cycles? How'd that happen?
Well, the mother of my daughter, her family were from New Orleans, and they got hit by Katrina, and her dad was an engineer for I think it used to be called Bell South. It's now part of AT&T. So when their home got destroyed, he got relocated to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, where he worked. So when her and I, because I was a police officer at the time in England, in London, were thinking of moving over, we were like, well, I guess, because we're going to have to stay with her parents till we both found our feet. I guess we're going to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We ordered a couple of bottles of wine and, you know, uh, came to
The wine.
terms with our fate.
Okay, so the wine was to help that go down a little easier.
Yes, yes, because I'd have loved going to New Orleans. I went to school in Baton Rouge, but we kind of knew, I was coming over on a green card, so I couldn't work for 90 days. And of course, she wasn't working when she moved over. We just had our little girl, so we were with her parents in Hattiesburg here until we both found jobs, both found our feet, and
Yeah.
I started off. It's probably going to be your next question as a um, management trainee with Enterprise Rent-A-Car,
Oh yeah.
uh, which was that was a very interesting experience. I love doing that. I became a branch manager within a year. Commuted from here to Meridian every day. That was a fun experience. Got promoted to their remarketing team, which is when you're selling their rental vehicles as used units, used cars to used sales managers at dealerships. And that
Oh
and
yeah.
that and that's when I realized, what could possibly be worse than working in a service department? Oh, trying to sell cars to a sales manager day in, day out. That's the
That was
definition of a dog eat dog world. And that was up in Huntsville, Alabama. Um, but I was questioning my life choices and started looking at service positions, and one came open in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, here at Petro Nissan. So I started doing that in 2015. Did that for a while. Moved across to become like a the lane manager at Toyota
nice.
when they built a brand new dealership up in the West End of Hattiesburg. The old one kind of became like their B dealership, and they offered me the manager position there just to kind of, give me an opportunity to learn the management way of things. And I did that for a year. And then the old manager from Petro, who I'd worked for 3 years earlier, called me up out the blue and said, "Hey, I've got a fantastic opportunity for you." And now I'm a whole lot wiser in the ways of the world. When someone says, "I have a fantastic opportunity for you," it means, hey, they can't find anyone else dumb enough to do this. So you are at the bottom of the barrel, but I think you're desperate enough and stupid enough to want to do it. So anyway, he sat me down and said, "It's power sports. It is very, very different from automotive at Toyota and Nissan. It's like here's the manual. Learn this, and everything will be great."
Yeah.
So of course it was at Hattiesburg Cycles. I think that was August 2018. So I came in, and yes, I mean it's a fantastic business. The owners are great, the management is great, but being an independent dealership, that there was no formalized anything
Yeah.
when I came in. So the first couple of years, I won't even tell you what my GM told me. The first 18 months looked like. Once we'd got it rolling, he said, "I didn't want to hurt your confidence telling you how I thought you were doing the first 18 months. But I think everyone has to go through a few growing pains. We
That's
can't,
that's a
we
great
kind
point.
of, we kind of got it in the right direction now. But it's interesting that my owner had told me when I started, he was like, "Martin," he said, "I want you to know it's a little bit of a mess. It's going to be 5 years before you even get to the point where you know what you want to do." And he was exactly right.
Really?
We'd only been there, what, maybe just over a year. And I think when I did my management training with you, Max, it was around that time this thing called COVID hit, which kind of threw everyone for, just as if, working in a dealership wasn't hard enough. That hit just to throw an additional spanner in the works. And kind of, getting over that has been the biggest thing. Um, just in the general decline of parts availability, units, declining customer numbers year on year has been, the biggest things we've had to fight since.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, so August 2018 is when you start here. You so you're saying 5 years in, you start to see what you want to do and what's going on. I distinctly remember though, when you were in the service management academy with me, you had a lot of processes already started and dialed in. And
Hmm.
I know that you were I can say this because I am one too, a spreadsheet nerd.
Hmm.
And you track everything. I mean, I've been
Hmm.
incredibly impressed by the tracking and detail that you have of that department, which is it's been really impressive. So what things are you tracking right now? If we've got other service managers listening, I mean, you track so much stuff. What are the things that are like the high level, need to look at them on a daily or weekly or monthly basis?
Well, I mean, the first thing I realized was, uh, I mean, just like everyone, whether it's sales, P&A, or service, this is your target for the month. And when I came into it, the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around is, well, that's just a mythical number, you know, like
Yeah.
we have to hit that number, we have to hit that number. But the more time I spent here, the more things became apparent that, hey, if you take care of this, this, and this, you don't need to worry about that number. That number will take care of itself as long as you've got this handle. So, I mean, the two big things are customers through the door, which is, the biggest thing you can ever pay attention to, because without that, you don't have anything. So, like you said, I'm a very analytical guy. So reverse engineering that, it's like, well, okay, so how do we impact customers through the door? First one, obviously, is give the best customer service we can.
Yep.
Well, then you reverse engineer that. Well, how do we give the best customer service we can, which is the people? And when I got here, I had two very technically minded service advisors, but their customer service skills were that they just were non-existent. So, and I, as you well know, Max, I'm not the most technical person whatsoever. But as probably you and everyone else who's watching this know, I have no issue opening my mouth and talking, and that's yeah, and having an accent as well. Kind of made me stand out in the service advisory field.
Yeah, yeah,
There
yeah.
was one time at Petro Nissan, someone left a comment on Facebook. They said, "You always know when you're going to get bad news because they roll out that charming British guy." And then the secret got out that, hey, man, when someone needs some bad news, let's just get the guy with the accent, especially if it's a little sweet housewife. It always works. Um,
So,
Anyway, I say that in jest, but I soon realized, hey, that's the type of person we need, who's got a personality, a sense of
Mhm.
humor, who can joke, laugh. You don't need to be technically minded to be a service advisor if you can communicate with your customers, if you can
Mhm.
earn a degree of trust, and you do things for the right reason. They will, I won't say they'll buy anything you recommend, but for the most part, and since we've had a new team come on board, that all comes back to providing the best level of customer service that we can.
Love it.
We
Do you
introduced
have
a
them just
24-hour. Sorry,
do
go
you, do you,
ahead.
do you have them fake accents, or they do they make up new accents every time a customer comes in?
Well,
Is that
I
part of it?
have, I have some, that can do all kind of different accents. Depending, it's like, well, he comes through the door. Well, you have to mirror. See,
Yeah.
come someone coming in a suit, and I'll do my top button up. And I'll,
It's impressive. I love it.
if we have Susie Q housewife walking through the door, I'll get my female service out there to chat about,
Yeah.
the
What do you
kids
what do you
and
do if you
what.
have somebody from Wiggins, Mississippi coming through?
Oh, we just give up on that. We send them up the road, but
Yeah.
no, we
Danny's in Gulfport, Mississippi. Danny actually, do you remember French and Sons, the service shop in Gulfport, Mississippi? That was Danny's.
okay.
Little
Well, we
independent.
have We have a couple of technicians who actually drive up from Gulfport every day, which is, kudos to them, and actually one from Wiggins as well.
There you
I
go.
mean, they're from all over the place.
Hey, you're drawing
But
some
like I
talent.
was saying, just having that attitude out front, has made an absolute world of difference.
Yeah.
We introduced a guaranteed 24-hour diagnostic.
Yeah.
We get calls from other customers. Hey, my unit is at so and so, so and so. They haven't touched it. How long will it take you? We'll just say next business day. That in itself, when we introduced it, put a lot of pressure on us because technicians know you make up your time from repairs, right? So that in turn meant that we had to grow the team in the shop. Um, so
How
and
do
the
you pull that off?
hardest.
Do you schedule, like, do you block off the first hour of your ATEX days to be able to knock that out? Or is there a scheduling strategy? How do you do it?
Well, we use Lightspeed. So normally what happens is at about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I will look to see how many repair orders have come in. And then I'll start putting them on the technician schedule the next day because we don't really know what the next day's schedule is going to look like until, the diagnostics have come in.
Yeah.
I mean, on Saturday we had 28 in to be diagnosed this Tuesday. Normally during the week in summer, we'll get about anywhere between 13 to 18. In the winter, it's not as many. But, like you said, Max, that can cause scheduling issues if you've got technicians taking too much time. I'm not mean it's taking them too much time, but if too much time of the day is eaten up with diagnostics, you're then falling behind on the repairs. You get parts in, and it's like, well, we're 4 or 5 days out because everyone's bringing the units to us, but then it defeats the point of doing your diagnostic so quickly. So, of course, the remedy to that was to grow the technician team, and that in itself has probably been one of the hardest things I've had to do as service manager because you can bring on a salesman, a service advisor, you can stand with them, train them in terms of, hey, this is how you write up a repair order, this is the price of our service. All of the stuff that we talk about in our garage composites training. But I mean, being a technician is a craft, it's a skill. So trying to find or recruit or hire a technician who has those skills, I found was nigh on impossible. So what I'd started doing was going out to the local JUCOs, high school shop programs. We started an internal apprenticeship program
Nice.
where started working with Pearl River and Jones and their instructors and saying, hey man, if you've got any guys who you think are the best, pass them on to me. We'll give you a little finder's fee. We go interview those guys and say, hey, if you're in school 2, 3 days a week, come work with us for the others. We'll pay you to do it. If you're good enough when you graduate, there's a guaranteed job. If you
Yeah.
find out that it's not for you, then you've learned a valuable life lesson.
Yep.
And again, we had great success with that. We grew our technician team from 4 to now 10.
Whoa.
And 5 of those have come off that program. So that has been a huge benefit to us. And I honestly don't think a lot of kids who are at high school or these junior college programs can understand that it's not a get rich quick scheme. But man, if you stick with it, you earn your certifications. You can, I hate to use the word easily because it's hard work, but I mean, 6 figures is, what our technicians are earning in the summer when you're doing 60, 70 hours a week. It's a huge, huge opportunity.
Yeah. So how do you, so
So
when you bring these apprentices in, are they being paid hourly? Are they getting a cut of the stuff they bill right now? Are they assisting your ATEX? What exactly do
yeah,
you
well,
bring them in doing?
We have to pay them hourly because they really don't produce any work. So
Okay.
the next comment obviously is it really does throw our payroll out of whack for a while because it's we're paying a lot more technicians, but the efficiency, the proficiency is out of whack because they're not producing anything. But we know it's a long-term investment, and I mean it has paid off.
Yeah.
We went. I mean, I was showing my shop foreman this. In January 2019, which was my first January here, we were doing an average of about 226 hours a week. Now this January, we did, and in February, we did over 400 hours a week. So
Nice.
we, and that's the diagnostic technicians, because our setup crew, obviously their hours are determined purely on what sales does and what P&A sell.
Right.
So, I mean, we've seen, I don't know what the percentage increase is, but I mean, like I said, there's no shortcuts to that success. We got to take time to develop them,
Mhm.
make sure they understand how to do proper diagnostics, use all the manufacturer's software. Plus, every single one, you have to understand is in an automotive program, so they're working on Chevy Malibus and Toyota 4Runners during the day, and then they're coming over to the dark side, and looking at Can-Ams and Polaris and Kawasaki's, KTM's, Trailmasters, SSR, Indians,
Wow.
Yamahas, Suzuki's,
Holy crap. How many
So,
brands do you have? How many brands are in that store?
oh, uh, I mean, Can-Am and Polaris are the main two. Then you've got Kawasaki, Yamaha, are the next two. Obviously Indian bikes. Let's see, KTM's, Suzuki's, SSR, Trailmaster, Hammerhead. Um, and then, we do the Sea-Doos,
Yeah.
Yamaha Wave Runners, the Sea-Doo Switch, and the Manitou pontoons as well. So
Holy.
all our technicians have to have, those in their back pocket. So
Yeah. Just
it
like
it
15 brands in your back pocket. That's
yes,
fine.
I
Yeah.
mean it, but I mean again, that's why we pay them so well, because it isn't, and without being derogatory to, former employees, if you're at Toyota, you have to worry. I don't know their lineup now. The Corolla, the Camry, the Avalon,
Yeah.
the Tacoma, the Tundra, I guess the Crown now, and then what, the Forerunner, the Highlander, and the Sequoia. There's really only 9 different models you have to worry about. With
Still
us,
the
it's,
same manufacturer. I mean, it's yeah.
yeah, 12,
Uh,
13 different manufacturers. Plus, within the Can-Am range, you've got the Sea-Doo, the Switch, the Boat, the Manitou, the Pontoon, the Riker, the Spider. You've got the Little Renegade, the 70, the 110, the Outlander, the full size Renegade, the Maverick, the Commander, the Defender. It's
just keeping
plus,
track of the
we
names.
generally work on anything that's 10 years old or more modern. So within that as well, you've got,
Yeah.
the 2014 Maverick is a completely different setup from the 2024. So, we tell them when they come on, look, if you can stick with us, we'll take care of you financially, until the point whereby you can diagnose and output, hours whereby what you would be paid if you were commission is paid more than what your hourly is. So, if they're on,
Great.
a certain amount per week, which would give you so much per week, but then once they start diagnosing and we cut them loose and we gain their wings and they're putting out 30 to 40 hours, if that amount is more than what their hourly would be, then we give them that, because if that's what they're
Great.
billing, then,
Yeah. Is there a period where it's like they get the greater of one of the two, or it's like you do the switch from hourly into commission because they have surpassed?
well, I mean, they'll always get the greater of,
Oh, that's
and I
great.
mean, the reason we don't switch them to commission only and they stay on that is because during, the dark months of November, December, January, and February, with 10 technicians, we have 6 that are solidly commission only.
Yeah.
So, when you are getting only 5, 6, 7, 8 units in a day to diagnose, you got to
Yeah.
take care of those guys. And then you can't just leave the other ones to fend for themselves, when they might be scrapping for 10, 15, 20 hours,
Yeah.
and on a diet of baked beans and ramen for 4 months.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
poor way to live. So, what we then do is switch them over to builds for Christmas because our sales team is just absolutely immense. They'll sell about 360, 370 units in a month in about November and December for the Thanksgiving and Christmas. So there's so much stuff for the guys to do, even if it's not diagnosing units. So again, we pay them to build a unit just as if they're diagnosing a unit because it's
Yeah.
just as important. We got about 800 people we don't want to disappoint. When their kids, I doubt they open the present, but when they get shown, hey, here's your new Trailmaster, here's your new. Oh,
Yeah.
KO is another brand we just recently took on. Your little KO ATV or KMB 60 dirt bike. You know, we're doing a lot more hours with a lot more people, which means we can work a lot more units and work them a whole lot more quickly than anyone else. And that's one of the things, the big things that you saw from a spreadsheet is how quickly can we get units in and out. And our goal, which we're not quite there yet, is to get an average of every single unit in and out the dealership within 10 working days.
Okay.
Uh, and a lot of that obviously is dependent upon parts, coming in.
And how
One of
you're
the
measuring
things.
that, I mean, repair event cycle time as
Mhm.
the repairer's creation date to its process date?
To when it's cashed out, yes.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Because, I used to think, well, we can't control how quickly it's cashed out, but, I don't get paid, the advisors don't get
Mhm.
paid until that is cashed out. So,
Yeah. The
you
techs have already
know,
been paid.
uh,
So from an accounting
yes.
standpoint, there's all
So,
this
so I mean,
outstanding receivable.
exactly. So, I mean, it's a question of, hey, if we finish a repair on Saturday, February the 28th,
Mhm.
basically the advisors have 1 week, 1 week to get that customer in and out. It's my fault as service manager. When I started here, there's so much emphasis on we got to get it diagnosed, we got to get it worked, we got to get the parts in, we got to get it repaired. And then once it's repaired, it's like, oof, our work is done. But I mean that target that you've got at the end of the month is never going to be hit if you've got technicians on 2,000 hours over the month and nothing is being cashed out.
Yeah.
And I mean everything comes from the top. And
How do
now I
you,
have 3 very personable but very money hungry advisors out there
yeah.
who will stay on the customer like the customer stays on us when the unit's in. That, hey man, you got to come pick this up.
Do you guys use
So,
any like remote billing? Like we started using Connect Payment. So
mhm.
as soon as the bill was completed, we send a link for them to pay their bill right away, which not only obviously speeds up payment, but it turns out people pick it up a lot faster when the bill's already paid.
Yes,
Do you guys
yeah.
use something similar?
I mean, we do use Connect. I mean, we use
Yep.
that for messaging customers as soon as there's an update. An automated message goes out. I have a service coordinator now whose title is logistics coordinator. So she basically updates every single customer every single day. As long as the status has changed, I'm not saying, oh, we're waiting on your parts. Next day, we're waiting on your parts. Next day, we're waiting on your parts. But
Yep.
if we are working repairs or if we're in the process of diagnostics, or if we get a tracking number from the manufacturer, or if the part hits, everyone is updated. And again, that goes back to providing the best customer service that we can which is, our goal is to never have a customer contacting us for an update. We
Yeah.
realistically will never get there. But the goal is, the biggest one we get is, hey, Mr. Smith, your parts are en route. As soon as they get here, we'll give you an update. 2 days
Hmm.
later, hey, what's going on with my unit? Well, Mr. Smith,
Exactly.
your part's not here yet. We can't stop those. But Connect has been brilliant for us. And bless her heart, she's here at 7:45, 8 o'clock, so she gets all those messages out before we start. And that's been a huge thing for us. So it doesn't tie up the advisors with answering 30, 40, 50 calls a day. What's going on with my unit? What's going on with my unit? They've already got an update. Or, when repairs are complete, hey, it's going through the quality control check. Or like you said, Max, when it's ready to go, hey, here's a copy of your repair order. Here's a copy of your bill. Take care of that. When you're on your way, let us know. We can pull the unit out.
Great.
One of the things I introduced here that we didn't do when I started, that is a big thing in automotive. In automotive, you can take the customer in the car and you can drive up Highway 98. Oh,
Yep.
you know what? Here it's harder because if they're on a motorbike or if they're on an ATV, they can't do that. But we always do a formal walk around. If it was a no start issue, hey, fire it up, see how it sounds, drive it around the
Yeah.
dealership, make sure you're happy with it.
Building
Because
value
again,
before
if
you
they're handing
before you
over
deliver.
$2,000, $3,000, one of the big things I was trained on is, a customer will, I guess with anyone in life really, they'll never ever let you forget, or they themselves will never forget how you made them feel. And one of the things I really liked about your training, Max, was when there was one you did on the brain chemistry of customers, how it changes when you're telling them, hey man, it was a no start issue. I know you wanted it to be a battery, but we found metal flakes in your oil. And the next conversation is going to be a really difficult one, and the chemical reaction that goes on. And when we finish repairs, we get every unit detailed now without fail. So when they come and pick it up, it's not just mechanically repaired, but it looks gleaming. It looks brand new. Because when they come to pick that unit up, again, we have noticed such a change in how customers interact with the advisors, when they're handing over the
Oh,
credit card for $2,000 or $3,000. But we do the walk around before that. So
yes.
when they're handing the card over, it's not an air of resignation. It's not and a lot of customers are like, man, it looks brand new, and I won't say they're excited, but there's an
At
air
least
of
they're not upset.
optimism around the service department,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
happy to there's less buyer's
yeah,
remorse. Yeah.
yeah. No, normally a service department just feels like a morgue, but it's like, how can we make customers, if we can't make them happy, how can we make them less suicidal? What can we do
Yeah.
to try and make them want to come back to us as opposed
Yeah.
to having to come back to us. So it's just little things like that. You
I
know,
love that.
um, the other big thing, that I think is an absolute must is just looking over the WIP. I have learned if you are taking care of the scheduler and taking care of the WIP, everything else will take care of itself.
And
The
by WIP,
beginning of the month.
you mean work in progress of the stuff
Yes,
that's like
yes,
in
yes.
work, or just not even, or like every single open repair order is what you're talking of? Or
Yeah. I mean, every single open repair order, I will touch once a week. I put a huge whiteboard up in the service department. You can see it right there. It's got a couple of
oh yeah.
pieces of paper on it ready for me, and everyone's repair orders that are more than 30 days old go on that board. And every
Mhm.
single week, me and one of the advisors go over every single one of those. Uh, just to make sure that nothing has slipped between the cracks. Because when we're working on about 400 repair orders a month,
Yep.
stuff will.
Yeah.
I mean, to err is human. But just by doing that, just minimizes the chance of, hey, I put parts on request, I gave it to our parts guy. He's mislaid it somewhere, and the
Yeah.
part still is on request 2 weeks later. I mean, that's
Yeah, that
that's
happens.
one of the ones that we find, which is not ideal, but we find it through that process. Or,
Yeah.
hey, the part came in and he took it straight to the technician instead of my logistics coordinator logging it. I don't even know the part's here. The technician goes from his scheduler. 2 weeks later, the advisor's like, "What's going on with this? It shows that parts are in." And it skipped a process.
Yeah.
Policies and processes, I always tell my guys and my ladies, are there for a reason, because we figured out how to stop something from happening. But it doesn't mean it still doesn't go on, because again, we're human beings.
Yep. Still gonna
um,
happen. Still gonna happen. So
but
okay,
but we
so you got
manage it as best we can.
good. Your metrics, you said number one was customers through the door. That's like your number one. Let's measure the
Hmm.
volume coming to the door. Are you measuring? I mean, is the next one experience? And is there a way you measure that? Or you how do you
Well,
know people are
I
getting
have.
that?
Well, that's since I had my training with you. I think one of the things I had mentioned was, for us to grow as a department, and I needed some more help assisting me. So I've talked about the logistics coordinator. One of the things that we introduced in 2024, I think in October, was a BDC,
Yeah.
which is kind of a misnomer. We don't ever call her that, but that's really what she does.
And this is for sales or
Because
for
if we
service?
have, yes, yes. So if
For
we have someone calling from the service department to a customer saying, "Hey, I'm a BDC," because I mean they're huge in automotive. I mean, Toyota of Hattiesburg up the road has a team of like 14 to 16 people, in their BDC department. It's just massive. We have two internet salespeople. That's it. But one of the things I had long tried to figure out is, how do we measure how successful we were in meeting a customer's expectations? If there were any issues, how do we remedy that? How do we rectify that? But the first issue was, how do we even find out if there were any issues?
yeah.
So what Sabrina does, who's our service coordinator slash BDC, is twofold. One of which is, for any people who use Lightspeed report, who use Lightspeed, there's a report, the 612 report, which shows every single repair order that was cashed out on a certain date. So I run that every single day, and at the end of the week, I give that to her, and the following Saturday, she'll call every customer on that list. And when I recruited her, we worked on the word track. Hey, it's so and so from Hattiesburg Cycles. I'm just calling up with reference to the service that you had here. Just two questions. I wanted to make sure, A, we met your expectations, and B, you're not having any further issues. And that's what she does every single Saturday. She doesn't do anything else but call people from the previous week, just to make sure. And if anyone does have any issues, she just does a warm handover to me,
Mhm.
and I go through the issues that they have. And I mean, the good thing is, very rarely is there anything that she's not able to resolve. Sometimes people will
Cool.
say, well, I waited too long for parts, or it was a really intensive diagnostic, or it was an engine tear down and the unit was down for longer than they'd hoped, or I didn't get the communication that I wanted to, and we'll look back on stuff like that. In terms of getting through the customers through the door, since she joined us, we've seen about a 30% increase in numbers, which has been absolutely a huge to us. So what she'll do is she'll go through, my spreadsheets that I have, which tracks every single customer through the door, and 12 months later she'll call them with nothing else, just to say, hey, we haven't seen you for a year.
That's
It's time
great.
for your annual service. Just like you go see your optician, you go
Yep.
see your dentist for your checkup, just to make sure. Because of course, again, the hardest thing is getting customers through the door. Once they're in the door, we perform the MPI. We may find, I don't know, excessive slack in the steering rack, rear pinion seal leaking, or something like that. And that's when we can really increase our average per RO, but you
Yeah.
can't increase anything if the unit's not here.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Onyx Immersion. Now, Immersion is a 30-day planning and strategy session where we study your entire operation. We study your seasonality, your customer base, your staff, your financials, your inventory, all of those components. That goes into a here's where you are snapshot. You take that snapshot and we help you make your 12-month plan, break that 12-month plan down into your current quarter. The next 90 days, these are the things that you are going to accomplish, and this is the highest return on investment that you could possibly put your effort and energy into. That is what Immersion is. It's the exact same tool that we used for the turnaround, which is us fixing the dealership downstairs, and we got hired back in to turn it around. It went from losing $70,000 a month into making money every single month. And so that is the exact same process that we are sharing with everyone now. If you want to know more about Immersion and sign up for the upcoming Immersion, please visit www.onyx.io. That's OWNEX.io. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, actually, I just said the last podcast was Jokey Froming from Polaris, and she was just telling me some stats. They have been working with a bunch of stores to introduce multi-point inspections. It just instituting a multi-point inspection increased their average repair order revenue by 185%, almost doubled the profitability of the store because of service, because of just doing a multi-point. So your multi-point inspections, is that like are you doing them complimentary on every single vehicle that comes through, or what does it look like for you?
Yeah, so just in case you
There
asked,
it is.
this is so I mean, we have this,
Yep.
we've done this for a couple of years, and it's we have different ones for boats, personal watercraft, bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. And of course, now with Can-Am and Polaris coming out with the electric units, we've got 6 different types. So we've been doing that for 2-3 years. Our shop foreman developed that. So yes, David from Polaris came round and he was showing us, it is cool how you can do the Polaris MPI online. So it stays, as soon as you type that unit in Ask Polaris when they come in, all the previous MPIs crop up. So that's something that let's just say the technicians are a little resistant to, because it means it doubles their workload.
Yeah.
But I mean, anything that we find on a unit is automatically created in Lightspeed as a new job line anyway. And Lightspeed gives you the opportunity to decline a job and stuff like that. So it's already there in Lightspeed anyway. But yes, doing the MPI has it helps enormously for us. Because I mean, as I say, we find customers who decline work. Again, one of the things that Sabrina does is that she has a 3-month callback, and especially when winter comes, we'll follow up with customers to say, hey, I know you declined that axle boot because you had a ride. It's amazing how every single customer who declines business has a ride the next weekend. It's very fortuitous.
Perfect timing. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. So I mean, come November and December again, we have a job code in Lightspeed where she can follow up on those to try and get them back during the periods. I say the service department itself is not quiet, but the advisors, that they really see a drop off, because me and the shop foreman and the setup crew are trying to deal with 370, 400 units internally a month, but the advisors don't have anything to do with those. So that's when they are doing their callbacks, going through the recall lists. So as I say, tracking customers through the door, we had seen a decline I think 2021 was the peak right after COVID. In 2022 and 2023 and 2024, even though our sales was going up, our customer numbers was going down. And we knew there'd be a tipping point whereby if your customer numbers keep decreasing, one of two things is going to happen. Your sales number is obviously going to go down,
Yep.
or stuff is going to start happening in the service department to prevent that from happening, which is unhealthy. So we realized we were going to have to get our customer numbers increased. So we hired a BDC. We spent some time at Toyota, because again, I know a few people there personally, just to kind of get an idea of the culture, what they do, how they do it, the word tracks. And then kind of she just spent some time with our advisors and me, rather than just throwing her in at the deep end. And then, we kind of just worked that for 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're still kind of fine tuning everything.
Of course.
Now we're at the point whereby we've had the first year. The next thing we're trying to focus on is we kind of seeing a 60% retention on who comes back, because again, every customer that she gets in, you'll be surprised to know, Max, is a Google spreadsheet. So
It's impressive.
about 14, 15 months later, we see if they've come back. If not, that's another phone call, because I mean, it's great to have about 60% of them back, plus all the people she's getting in now. But at the very least, if we haven't seen them, it should be, hey, it's time for your annual service. Hey, it's time for your yearly checkup. Because we don't charge for that. If they're just coming in for an inspection, we don't charge for that. And again, there has been internal debate as to, well, hey, a technician is spending 45 minutes to an hour MPI in this unit and we're not getting anything out of it. Well, monetarily, no, we're not getting anything out of it. But our goal is to, I think it's 17 times, right? You do something, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Our goal is to get the customer, even if the unit is brand new, it's 3 months old, they get the call, hey, how you finding your unit? It's time for your first service, bring it into us, we do the first service. We're not going to find anything on a first service, it's very rare. But that's why Toyota introduced Toyota Care, 2 years free servicing. They develop an internal, I don't know what you call it, brain chemistry that customer gets used to. Hey, when I'm looking for a dealership, now that I'm out my warranty, I'm not taking it to Quick Lube, I'm not taking it to Jiffy Lube. I know the service advisor, I've established a rapport, I've got my own seat in the waiting room, I like their coffee,
Yeah.
the choice of music is good, they have Top Gear on TV, whatever it might be. It's no longer a fear of the unknown, which a lot of people have of the service department. Plus, there's a personal relationship with Sabrina. There's a personal relationship with the advisor. So, we're trying to develop a culture whereby, we might not make money off 20-25% of these repair orders, but as long as these customers keep coming back to us, just like the training of, technicians from junior colleges. It's a long-term strategy. We're not in it to say we got to make this money this month. That's the be all and end all. It's kind of like I know it sounds trite, but you want to develop customers for life. Not only that, so when they buy the next unit, they're buying it from Hattiesburg Cycles. They're not calling up and say, because we get it, hey, I bought my unit from you. Do you guys service Can-Am? And I'm like, that's not even part of the service walk around. That's not even part of the sales walk around. But, again, when they're selling 200, 300 units a month, I have come to understand they don't want someone from service interrupting that loop. Hey, you got to get your unit maintained. Hey, you got to do this. You got to do this. The service is this, blah, blah, blah. Let them leave high on emotion. We'll contact them in 3 months. Let them know we created this nice service brochure that goes in the service packet. Everyone's scrubbed up, got good haircuts, clean shaven. We got someone to
That's
come in and
great.
photograph the service office. So at least they know,
But there is
hey,
a
there's a
brochure when
brochure in
people
there.
people buy, and there is a "Hey, welcome to service" brochure in that.
Yes, yes.
I
So, I
like.
mean, at least they know, hey, this is what the service department offers. Any issues, please feel free. My
Yeah.
business card is in there with my cell number. So they, again, we want people to know that the service department is not this, they're not walking into the Badlands. We are human beings who genuinely want to help them, because that's the only way, we're not only going to exist, but going to succeed and thrive and
Love that.
continue to grow, as we want to. And I mean, we've gone from doing, I think it was 79,000 in labor only my first January to like 218, and this February just gone we did 233, I think. So my first May we did 150. Last year we did 324 just in labor. So
Wow, that's great.
when you get the right people, and you have policies and processes to regulate everything, that's when the magic happens. It's
Yeah.
just trying to figure out how to get there. And now we're at the time where we're fine tuning this, we're fine tuning that. So I mean, it has been hard. Service managing is not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
No, it's
Um, but
tough
uh,
role.
but uh, but I mean, once you see what can be accomplished, I mean, it's very rewarding. And we're not out saving the world. But I mean, when you can grow the department as we have and institute all of this new stuff, I
So what
always say to
speaking
people,
speaking
go
of new
ahead.
stuff, what's one of the initiatives you're working on right now? Like not a thing that is currently solved, but something you're working toward, a better experience, easier communication, more transparency. What's your future look like? What do you think the next couple of years in Hattiesburg is going to be in service?
Well, the next thing, which is completely out of my hands, is physical expansion.
Okay.
Because we have an amazing owner, um, and during COVID, we completely gutted the shop behind us, and at that time, the warehouse coordinator was in there, our parts room was in there, as well as our setup build team and our diagnostic technicians. And I mean, I had told him, we're limited by what we can produce in terms of hours, which then impacts our sales and ultimately profit by
Yeah.
space. So he told everyone to get out. That's Martin's domain. A little bit nicer than that, but so we were able, like I said, to go from 4 diagnostic technicians to 10. As well as our installation crew are up here, and our build team are elsewhere now. We've now reached a point whereby we have no more space.
Wow.
And we've reached that point in the summer where our big 6 technicians, we do the 24-hour diagnostic guarantee, but they still have about 3 to 4 days of parts backlog. So the next thing for us to fix is to get more bodies in there, more people to train,
Yeah.
so we can distribute repair orders, over a greater number of people.
Yeah.
And the technicians have finally begun to trust the process. When we started recruiting, the fear was, man, I've I've got parts for 2 months on my shelf. I'm golden.
Mhm.
I don't have a worry about my work coming in. But as soon as we started recruiting more technicians, it's like, how am I going to survive? I'm going to lose my hours. And I said, look, you just got to trust the foreigner. I know it doesn't look like I know what I'm doing, but we'll be all right.
We're
And
gonna
I mean,
increase the volume.
the shop foreman is paid on hours output, so it's in
Oh,
his interest, and I'm paid on profit. And again, profit is from repair orders being cashiered. If we can cashier, like I say, it was normally around 165, 175 a month. On a good month now, we're up to 400. This month we did 252, but February is, it's November, December, January, February is traditionally a quieter month in terms of customers through the door.
yeah.
So the next thing for us is to figure out how we are going to expand the dealership physically. So
Mhm.
so really that depends on my how do I put this? My how suave I am and how personable and how persuading I am of the owner to put the hand in his pocket
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
either
To build.
build a new warehouse, and if so, where is that going to go? Or
Yeah.
we do have a bullpen outside that we've also had to build recently because we've run out of storage, and maybe create a second level to that. So one of the
Mhm.
unit warehouses, we can knock through that wall, in which case we'd be able to create 6 new technician bays. That's the angle
Yeah.
I'm going with.
Yeah, that's great.
Um, because as I say, if we can do that, and we can, I think our average per labor on a RO, and this includes all our builds, is about $355. It doesn't include parts.
Yep.
So if we can cash out an extra 10 of those a week, an extra 40 of those a month,
Mhm.
it would make a huge difference. Plus, it means we're constantly cycling. We get more technicians in, we get more units out quicker. Our customer service is better, their experience is better. More customers come to us, and then we have to go through the process again of recruiting more technicians. And it's been the good thing is it's been a very organic growth over the past 5 or 6 years. It's generally been anywhere between 8 to 10% increase every single year. It hasn't been something crazy like, oh my God, there's a 25% increase, which is a good thing because my targets the next year,
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
could, could have been hair raising. So,
So
when,
you
yes,
mentioned the coordinator role helping out the office. How many advisors do you currently have with 10 technicians? How many advisors?
I have 3 advisors because
Okay.
I generally think, tradi- I mean, traditionally, if I have three, I don't have a pod. I don't have 3 technicians to a certain advisor because they all have their own individual
Full sets.
strengths.
Yep. Yep.
I have some that are motorcycle gurus who do not touch anything that floats. I
Mhm.
have, guys who are excellent on watercraft and off-road, and if it's got 2 wheels on, they don't want to know about it. So,
Yep.
generally, there is 3 advisors to 1 technician. I'm sorry, three
And 3
technicians to one
technicians to 1 advisor.
advisor.
Yep.
Three
Yep.
technicians to one
That's
advisor.
the right
Uh,
ratio there. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yes, and we had toyed with the idea of getting a 4th advisor, but what we have seen with our logistics coordinator who handles all of the internal units, so our
Mm.
advisors now do not worry about internals whatsoever. One coordinator handles all the warranty after the repair order is cashiered in terms of doing the warranty claims, submitting for payment. And like I said, Sabrina, a BDC, is doing the follow-up calls
Yeah.
and checking all the recalls. So what we found was right now with our business levels, there really isn't a need for a 4th advisor because between those 3 coordinators, they've taken probably 25% workload off the advisors. And that workload was not something that they really ever got paid for. Yes,
Wait,
calling recall.
you've got 3 coordinators?
Yes, so one does all the warranty. So
Whoa,
as
okay.
soon as the repair order is cashed out, she's the one who does the warranty claims. The advisors have already submitted for warranty. We've already got approval. We've ordered the parts. The parts are coming. We've done the repair. The repair order is cashed out. but the advisors no longer submit an actual warranty claim to get payment.
Beautiful.
And Candace, she's the one who sends out all the Connect updates. She's the one who updates Lightspeed on a daily basis. She's the one who deals with all the internals.
Okay.
And Sabrina is the one who does all that, the after calls, surveys, customer experience calls. So now that the advisors are not doing any of that, their one focus is on one thing and one thing alone, and that's the
I,
customer,
I think, I mean,
whilst the
that
unit is here.
that is a big aha moment that I'm really hoping everybody hears. I
Hmm.
have for a long time that ratio of 3 technicians to 1 advisor is right. Like that is also, I agree. I think that's the right balance. But what I've seen from there is I've seen 1 coordinator helping 3 advisors. You have 3 coordinators and 3 advisors. And so I mean it's a team of 6 outside of you
Hmm.
that's running that team of 10 technicians.
Hmm.
I mean, the fact that you've got 3 people, the fact that there is enough workload for a warranty administrator as a coordinator and
Hmm.
internal and communication and like update person and then a customer interaction coordinator. I mean, that's incredible. I can
Hmm.
see why you don't need a 4th advisor. Those roles
Yes,
have
yeah.
so much off the plate. So it really focuses your advisor on your job is to communicate with the customers whose units are physically in our building and like are
Hmm.
being worked
Hmm.
on and keep them updated.
Yes. I mean,
That's
the
incredible.
logistics coordinator will send the Connect updates every single morning if we're working it. But that's the only interaction she has with the customer. The advisor
Yeah.
is still the one who runs the WIP, runs the repair order. But when they come in and there's 3 to 4 customers out front and repairs and orders need written up, they're not worrying about, oh crap, I haven't got my Connect updates done. I haven't updated
Yeah,
Lightspeed, blah
yeah.
blah,
They're just
all of that.
yeah, that's
So,
perfect.
so, there had been a conversation several months ago. Hey, let's get a 4th advisor in. But, my light bulb moment was, what is the most important thing an advisor should be doing? And if we can just distill that down to one thing, it's just taking care of that customer whilst the unit is here. And if we can farm everything else out, are we able to do it? Now, I was told we wouldn't be able to do that until our sales reached a certain point that we could justify these coordinators, because the internal logistics coordinator and our warranty coordinator, in terms of production and adding to the bottom line, there's not really much that they do to add to the bottom line. But what they do in terms of freeing up time for everyone else who does add to the bottom
Yep.
line, we've seen I mean, it is more, than the expense of having them is nothing compared to the time benefit that it gives them to focus on what they're able to do
Yeah.
with their
Yeah. So
customers.
your advisors are able to sell a hell of a lot more because they're not overwhelmed with the incoming phone calls or the warranty
Yes,
claims
yeah,
or
they're
the
not
updates
bogged
being
down
sent.
with all of the admin that traditionally
Absolutely
in
agree.
automotive, and this is the one thing I've seen where, and again, I don't know how other power sports dealerships are run, but I mean, in automotive, you as a service advisor run a repair order from the moment it comes in to the moment you get paid. And,
Yeah.
and there's no one else to help you. So you run all the admin, you run all the selling, you run all the warranty and everything else like that, which is why when I go to, or I speak with automotive service managers, they have 2 or 3 times the amount of service advisors we
Yeah.
do. And I'm
They
like,
have to be
man,
good at all these different things. Why don't
yeah.
we just have
And
fewer of them
and
that are specialized? Yeah.
with the best will in the world, service advisors, just like salespeople, because we're all the same, and same with parts people, really only want to do one thing, which is sell. They're here to sell, they're here to earn good commission. And we can talk about brain chemistry and service advisors and service managers having a different personality to the sales team. But again, it all just boils down to the same thing, which is, hey, this is the issue that you've got. You're looking for Polaris Ranger 1000. I'm a salesman. I don't have a 1000, but I have this 850. I can blah, blah, blah. to us in service, well, I know you don't want to, repair this axle boot, but it's left unattended, and there's no lubrication, in a couple of months, you're going to be paying for a whole new axle assembly.
Yeah.
Being able to focus on that, and as I say, we've seen our average labor per RO shoot up accordingly, the average time per RO, because we always used to see that in the winter because there was fewer ROs and they could give more focus. And that's how the conversation came along, is it's such a shame in summer when our customer load doubles that our numbers go down because they don't have the time. How do we free up time? And that's basically, how the conversation started was, me sitting down with our new GM who's been in that role for 2 or 3 years. He was our former sales manager and he's doing a great job. How do we, uh, manage their time more effectively so they have time to sell? Because we've only got so many hours in the week,
Of course.
Uh,
Of course.
now,
So, okay, let's get. I want to get back into the staffing real quick because okay, we've got the front of house figured out. In service, you got 10 technicians. Do you have expediters or porters, or what does the support staff look like to those techs to make them as proficient as possible?
Yeah, we do have 2 porters, yes, and that's basically it. I don't have an expediter.
Really? You have no
because
10 techs, no expediters to speed them up.
no,
Man.
so me and the shop, or the shop foreman and I, we are the ones who run the schedule. So like I said, when the repair orders come in, I'll log them on a spreadsheet. I'll log them in Lightspeed. I'll put them on the Lightspeed scheduler. So at the end of the day, what he does is he will then assign them to the technicians. And what we'll do is we'll let the porters know, hey, this is going to so and so, this is going to so and so. They'll move the units in. So first thing next morning, the units are already in the bay. Because again, I'm not saying technicians like to moan, but they love to moan. If they don't have a unit in the bay, and I mean, I get it. These are the guys who are paid commission. So we do try and get it to them. So in terms of dispatching, what we've found is it's better if there's a central hub, because those 1 or 2 people know what's going on. And again, that's why I was saying that one of the 2 most important things is the scheduler. So if for whatever reason, I'm not here, or I don't know, something happens that takes me away from the service department for half an hour, my advisors can look at the schedule, and every single day, for example, we print out, what our appointments look like.
Nice.
And I will give it out to them with who it's going to on the schedule, so they will know.
Is that run off Google, or what are you using to schedule appointments?
Again, that's Lightspeed. Yes,
That's Lightspeed. Okay.
on the service scheduler in Lightspeed, you can down the left-hand side column, you can just put appointments in there as if you're creating a repair order.
And this is the new Lightspeed scheduler. Are you still sticking with the old?
we use the old one because the new one is so closely tied to the actual repair order. It's I gave I hate to say a speech, but I was speaking to a few other service managers who did not like the new service scheduler in Lightspeed. And I said, well, have you ever used the old one? And they were like, no. And I'm like, I don't know how you run a service department or manage one without a scheduler, but the old one does everything that we need it to do because it's completely manually operated. Like you input everything, so it takes a little bit more time. But if there's no repair order open on a unit, for example, if a unit comes in from a sales deal and we're installing accessories and it goes straight to the back for our setup team, you can't put it on the scheduler because there's no repair order. And there's no point opening up a repair order just to install accessories. Or if you've got a Yamaha engine rebuild and Yamaha give you the usual 6.5 hours flat rate, but it really takes 15. On the new Lightspeed scheduler, it's the time on that is determined by the time in the RO. Whereas what we like to do is the actual time it's going to take the technician, not what is in Lightspeed. So
Yeah.
we may have one Yamaha expert who can do that in 9 hours. For example, the Wolverines now, the R-Maxes, have an engine and a transmission recall and a rear axle noise recall. You get someone who's done that 2 or 3 times, they can knock that out in 7-8 hours. But again, we don't like overloading one person when we've got 7-8 here as we have. So other people have to get used to doing them, and someone else it could take 15 hours. So you can manually run the schedule, and it gives you a much more realistic view. So when, for example, our logistics coordinator is updating the customer, we can let them know, hey, the technician started work, it's going to be 3 days. If it's with another technician, we can say, hey, the technician started repairs, it's going to be 2 days. They can take it for gospel because I run the schedule. What's on there is true and accurate, and things go wrong, bolts get seized or, whatever. But we can't help that. Stuff like that happens. And if there's one person who runs that scheduler, it's not like the Wild West. Because again, when I was at automotive, there was no dispatcher, and I'd take some brakes back there. Hey, so-and-so, can you do these brakes? Well, 2 hours later, someone walks back there. Hey, can you do this? And I find out they've been pulled, so that way. And again, it's a lot of work. It's probably 2 to 3 hours a day you spent on that schedule. But again, the benefit is now I've got all these other coordinators. I'm not having to stay on top of them doing warranty or time is my old service manager said, time is the one commodity in a dealership you can't get back. That's the thing that is most precious to you. If you can manage your time and you can be profitable with your time, everything else comes from that.
You're right.
And again,
time is our inventory, where every other department has physical things.
Exactly.
Ours is just fleeting at all moments. Well, look, Martin,
that was one of the.
Sorry,
one last thing. And that was one of the things, I was trying to persuade our GM, who was a sales manager. And of course, his big thing is, well, how's it going to impact the bottom line? How's it going to impact the bottom line? I said, well, you're going to love this answer, Jason, but that's not quantifiable. And he's like, that's some British shit. What, what does that mean? And I said, there's no way to measure it unless we try. But right now, everyone is so bogged down on the stuff that is not getting us anywhere. Let's just focus on what makes us the money and makes us a good service department. And we'll see, because we can always change it up if it doesn't work. But I mean, fortunately,
it's
been
trying something different.
Yes.
Try something different.
And I am just so thankful that it's been a huge success.
Well, Martin, I think that's a great way to tie a little bow on this one. Trying new stuff. I mean, you tried a bunch of stuff. You've done some really incredible things in that store. I have been excited to watch that store grow. So, man, keep up the incredible work. And I want to have you back on the show. Keep us sharing how these things are working and what's growing. And it's been nice having you on, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, look, give me another 5 years and I might be talking like I am from Wiggins. I'll have transferred from Australian to full-on redneck. Once I figure out how to work the
accent hasn't changed. Accent hasn't changed over the years yet. Martin, dude, thank you so much. Great chatting with you. And let's catch up again soon. Good work.
I appreciate it. Thank you.